My name is Shaina Birkhead, and I'm the Associate Executive Director at the Children's Book Council and Every Child a Reader. I'm really honored to be a part of this important conference, and I appreciate your time today as we talk about creating a book culture in your communities and the programming that you can use to help do that. So I've been with my organization for a little over 7 years now, and I've had a lot of different roles, but my passion and the projects that get me the most excited are the programs of Every Child a Reader. These programs are directed at engaging young people across the country in not just books and reading, but in also expressing themselves, telling their own story, and having agency over expressing their own opinions about books and reading. So I'm really excited to talk to you all today about what we've done with our programs over the past few years to really emphasize that young people's engagement and agency over their lives and experiences through books and storytelling. We do this by connecting with the adults and communities that work with kids directly every single day to create a culture of reading in their communities. So I have a PowerPoint here for all us visual learners. I'm going to start that. Okay, so this program is called Supporting Book Heroes, Creating Accessible and Engaging Programming to Foster Book Love. So first of all, the things that I hope that I answer or cover with you all today is what is a reading culture and how can you foster it in your communities? What does it mean to give kids agency when it comes to developing this reading culture? Why should you focus on book-related programmings that really give kids a choice? How do these things help eliminate book deserts? And we'll end with some resources and ideas that I hope you can use today and going forward to continue all the great work you're doing in your communities. I want to tell you a little bit about Every Child a Reader programs as some examples to start off with. So, Every Child a Reader doesn't connect directly with young people, but we support those that we call book heroes, so educators, librarians, booksellers, parents and caregivers, other nonprofits who do work with kids every day. Our goal is really to create programs that are quality with free resources that facilitate the efforts of book heroes everywhere. For us, supporting kids means supporting the adults that get to talk to kids every single day. There are amazing organizations doing all kinds of great work around literacy. And so our job is to support these people and organizations by making materials that are going to be useful in a variety of ways and in a variety of environments. These free materials have to be easy to implement and also easy to adjust and tailor. We have to keep a large age range of people in mind, as well as the diverse populations that are actually going to be using these resources. And we also want to take into account creating programming and resources that can be used in a classroom, at home, and everywhere in between. It's not super easy, but we found that the real key is to making sure that all the programs are as kid-focused as possible. And by that, I mean really giving kids a chance to take action and be involved in a way that gives them pride, ownership, and choice. Creating this kind of programming requires flexibility and coming up with broad, connective, and actionable program themes. So I want to talk about a few of our programs and the recent themes that we've had that we've seen a lot of success with in engaging with young people. The first one is the National Ambassador for Young People's Literature, which is like the poet laureate of children's books. This person is tasked for a 2-year term to act as the main advocate of the nation for children's books and to travel to different communities connecting directly with kids and adults. We do this in partnership with the Library of Congress, and we work really carefully with each ambassador to develop their own platform that will help focus their message and work over their term. So our current ambassador is Jason Reynolds, who has always been a huge advocate for kids, and his platform is Grab the Mic, Tell Your Stories. It's given him and us so many different avenues in which to encourage and connect with kids. As you can imagine, the ambassador can only travel to so many places during their term, so it's really important that their platform is accessible and actionable for kids everywhere. Grab the Mic has seen really great success because it doesn't hit kids over the head with reading. Jason didn't start reading until he was in his late teens, and he really understands that There are a lot of different avenues and ways to come at kids and talk about things with them that are intrinsically connected to books and storytelling. He talks to kids about their hometown, how they're feeling, acknowledges their stories, and gives them permission to be authentic and honest with him. This really allows Jason, young people, and the adults working with them to expand beyond the grab the mic, tell your story, and start thinking and listening to other people's stories. This is a great program, and Jason is an amazing ambassador. Our next program is Children's Book Week, which is celebrating its 102nd anniversary this year. It is a program all about celebrating books, any and all books for young people. And the core value of this program is really that all books have worth and should be celebrated for how they can impact and affect your life. So we have always done a week of celebrations that include bookstores, libraries, schools, and other locations around the country really taking the lead in hosting events for their communities that kids can be a part of. And that is a super important part of this program. But in the past few years, we've really started to develop more themes and resources that allow kids to be actively involved anywhere and with anyone. This year in particular, we created a theme that really empowers and encourages action, and that theme is reading as a superpower. So this opened up a lot of creativity and opportunity for us and for anybody who wanted to be involved. We just really felt like reading as a superpower was really compelling and fun, and we were able to create one of my favorite resources of all time, which is a challenge for kids to help discover their own superpower. So we had lists of activities in different themes and topics that kids could do to help figure out what their superpower was. And this kind of challenge can really extend beyond kids and involve whole communities in inspiring each other. So I wanted to give an example of something that we really enjoyed doing, which is connecting with book creators and asking them to share their superpowers with kids. I think it gave a really tangible and easy to understand examples for kids to see what we mean when we're talking about superpower. So this is Juji Morales, and she's sharing her superpower.
Señor Calavera, I was asked about my superpower. Do I have a superpower? Do you have a superpower? Maybe my superpower is that I'm bilingual. I speak English and I speak Spanish. Or maybe my superpower is that I love to create the stories and I make drawings and I write them into books. You know what I'm thinking? I think that my superpower is that I like to try on new things, even if I don't know how to do them, even if I think that I'm not going to be very good at. Like if I'm going to sing a song, I'm not good at singing, but I still do it. And if I'm going to write a story and I don't know how to do it, I still write it, even if I don't know how to do it yet. And I think that my superpower is being brave enough to try on new things, even if they are going to be a little difficult. I think that's my superpower. What do you think? Yeah.
So we had a lot of fun asking book creators to be a part of this. And it not only gave kids a chance to really see what we meant by superpower, but also an example to adults everywhere on how they could also share their superpowers with the kids in their care. So that was really fun. And our last program is the Kids Book Choice Awards. So these awards have been around since 2008, and they've always been about giving kids a voice. It's the only national book awards program where kids select the winners. And over the years, we've really adapted the program to try and meet kids where they are at their interest and what books are really exciting them at the time. So 2021 is actually seeing a huge revamp of this program with new visual branding, a new tagline, and new categories that we feel give a really positive and easy entry point for a lot of kids. So there are some categories where they can just look at their favorite YA cover and pick right from the screen without having to have read the book. We hope that that will entice them to read the book. Then there are some other categories where they will need to have read the books to be able to vote. So there's a lot of different ways for them to interact with the awards, and we're trying to keep them relevant and kid-centric and fun. And that is the big goal of this program as we move forward. So those are our programs. And I think that you can tell that while we focus a lot of our resources for book heroes to be able to utilize event ideas, things they can print and give to kids, the themes and core values of these programs are very much directed at young people and how they're going to interact. So we've talked a little bit about reading culture. I've mentioned it a couple of times. So I want to talk a little bit more about what that means and why it is so useful in helping to end book deserts. So these are some examples of what culture is. I think everybody kind of has a basic understanding of what that means, but values, conventions, social practices that are associated with a group, everyday existence of a group, etc. So these shared attitudes, values, and goals are what we're really talking about. When you add a reading to that, you get a culture in which reading is a part of the everyday existence shared by people in a place or time, or a culture in which reading and books are a part of the shared values, goals, and practices of a group, organization, or society. For me, reading culture is really about a culture where reading is valued, celebrated, emphasized, and made a part of everyday life, which for some people sounds really easy and for some people sounds really difficult. And it can be difficult because it's hard to cultivate that environment when reading is an assignment, when reading and literature lessons are heavily influenced by curriculums, end of year test scores, reading levels. All of these things are integral to our education system. So it's really important to not ignore those, but build a culture of reading that highlights the joy, empowerment, and value of reading beyond the didactic. And you can do this in tandem with all of the wonderful education-based reading instruction that's taking place with young people every day. There are so many ways to create a joyful reading culture, and these are just a few ideas to get you started. So all of these are really focused on young people taking the lead. Giving kids agency gives them power and control, which are two things that my 1.5-year-old certainly craves. And there are some really fun and effective ways that you can use these in your community starting right now. So let's dive right in. Make books easily accessible in as many places as possible. This might seem really obvious, and I know that we're talking in general at this conference about a lack of accessibility to books, but you don't have to have an entire library to make this possible. I think little free libraries are a great example of just putting books out in the community. Even if you just have 1 or 2 books to share, make them accessible for kids, make them visible and a part of everyday life. Use the books that you have. So it can be on a very small scale and still make a really big impact. Make book displays visually appealing. If you have the space or opportunity to make a book display, make it fun. I love these 2 examples. Don't judge a book by its color is great. Everybody loves to organize things by color. And the other one is a Children's Book Week window display that is just really inviting for kids and fun to look at. So if you have the opportunity, no matter how small or how big, make the book displays fun and kid-centric. Share your book love, model reading behavior. Read anywhere, anytime, everywhere. Show kids and other adults that reading doesn't have to just happen at a specific time of day or in a specific location. I think it's an easy and really important way to demonstrate that reading can be enjoyable and take place anywhere. Include stories you know kids love along with new books for discoverability. So I think most of us know that kids get really attached to a certain series, a certain author, a certain character, and sometimes it's hard to push them out of that zone. So there are a lot of ways to do this. There are a lot of tools online that will kind of tell you if a kid likes this book, then try this book. This is also something that publishers have been using in their marketing for a long time. And it's not just with books, as you can see in the second image there. You can do that with movies, with television shows. There are a lot of different inroads to connecting kids with books based on their art, what they're already interested in. But there is also a lot of value in trying to push them outside of their comfort zone. One really great way to do that is by some kind of challenge, to challenge kids to read a book about a character that's different than them, or a book in a different genre or format than what they're used to, and incentivize it in some way. Connect with book creators. And this might feel really hard in some locations around the country, but right now, and I think continuing to move forward, there are so many virtual events happening, events that are recorded that you can watch after the fact. Conferences and festivals around the country did virtual events last year, and much of that was free for viewers to look at. And creators are making videos all the time. They're doing things on social media, they're doing interviews, there are all kinds of virtual resources that you can use to connect with creators. Of course, the ideal is to bring someone directly in to your school or community to talk to kids. And there are some ways to do that. There are definitely some organizations that really support that in areas that don't have the funds to pay for a school visit. Our National Ambassador Program is one of those. So bringing a creator into an environment is always so exciting for kids. It's really great, whether you do it virtually or in person, for kids to know that books don't just pop out of thin air. They're actually made by people just like them. Allow kids to voice their thoughts, share their picks and opinions. I love this bulletin board idea for kids to put up their book recommendations. Kids love to tell you what they think, so give them the chance to do that openly and honestly without judgment. Let them tell you what they thought about a book, and go from there. Have discussions about what they liked and didn't like. It's a great way to really engage kids. Make reading a priority. This one seems pretty pretty self-explanatory, but a couple of examples are, Australia has a reading day, which is really cool, where they have a time set aside where they ask everybody to read for 10 minutes at night with their family. Another great thing is to have a space for kids to go and read. So whether that be a corner in your home, in your school, the entire library, it's great to offer kids a quiet, comfortable place where they can take a book. This one is really important to me. Expand your definition of reading. When you talk to kids about reading, are you only talking about books? Are you only talking about novels? What about graphic novels? What about kids' magazines? What about poetry? What about the poetry of song lyrics? There are a lot of different avenues that you can go that are all based in the written word and storytelling, that aren't necessarily novels that can maybe intimidate some reluctant readers. So adults need to really think beyond the scope of the classics or the really thick novels that they want their kids to get to. There are different ways to introduce reading that feel a little more fun to some kids. I loved novels growing up. My brother was a huge video game player, and the way that my mom got him excited in books was through magazines that were about video games that he could read that had some story-based components to them. So I think that's a really important thing to do to connect with kids that are less interested in books right now. Celebrate. There are a zillion celebrations around children's books, not just our Children's Book Week, but other things like Banned Book Week, Free Comic Book Day, National Novel Writing Month. A lot of these are run by organizations that are nonprofits that provide free materials around their celebrations. And I think everybody likes to feel a part of something bigger than themselves. So a celebration is a great way to say, people everywhere are being a part of this right now, and you can too. So, how do book programs help combat book deserts? As you can see from my examples, creating programs and resources that give kids the chance to express themselves and make choices opens up a lot of possibilities in terms of how programs can be implemented in the biggest school and library systems all the way down to an individual or family. It's really key to making programming around books for young people that resonates with groups and communities everywhere. It gives permission for people to embrace books and programs about books in whatever way works for them. So there's no hard and fast rules. This is a springboard for people to develop their own reading culture. This conference is about ending book deserts, and I know that a huge challenge faced in many areas of the country is limited access to books in general. So, creating and utilizing programming that connects young people to books and opens their eyes and hearts to the power of storytelling is just one of many, many, many ways to combat this. The more communities and young people feel empowered to tell their own stories, the more a culture of reading and storytelling can be cultivated. And making a culture of reading is just one step in prioritizing and finding creative solutions to end book deserts. If you have a culture of reading and you have a group of people that find reading really valuable, they're automatically going to buy in to efforts to end a book desert in their area. So, action steps and resources. There are a lot of things out there that you guys can explore. These are just a few of the ones that I'm most familiar with, but I want to talk a little bit about action steps, which tie in a lot to, all the different ways that you can build a reading culture. Hunt the internet for free resources. I am not kidding when I say that there are so many groups creating free things for you to download, print, use online. Take advantage of that. Look wherever you can, websites about books, publishers' websites, all kinds of things like that. Talk to people in your community, connect with your librarians, your teachers. Go to your nearest bookstore, even if it's miles and miles away, and see what they can do to help you in your community. Focus on contacting service-oriented groups that can maybe sponsor a book drive of some kind, donate books to a specific area, do community read alouds with kids. Those are great groups to talk to in your area. Talk to kids. They'll tell you what they want if they feel like they're allowed to tell you the truth. So just talk to them about what books they're interested in, what creators they would love to connect with, things that they do for fun that aren't even related to books. How can you incorporate those into book-related programming? Look for celebrations and programs to tap into, which ties back into the free resources. Celebrations give a really concrete way for you to be involved in something and encourage books without doing a lot of legwork or additional creation of materials on your own. So look for those celebrations and try and be a part of them. Read. Start the movement by example. I can't say it enough. Read anytime, anywhere, and show people that it's just as much fun as looking at your phone while you're waiting for the subway, or just as much fun as kicking the soccer ball around in a field outside. Plan little to no cost events around books. You can start book groups, story hours, reading circles, book swaps. There are all kinds of things that you can do that really don't cost any money. You can promote online or just in your neighborhood or in your community, just to get people talking about books together. Encourage family reading time. I think this is really important to build a larger book culture or reading culture. It's important that there is a reading culture in the homes of the families in your community. So reading aloud is a really great and fun way to do that. Start small, dream big. Don't feel like you have to do all this at once. Don't feel like if you have a program and 2 people show up, it was not successful, or you were only able to donate 10 books. Feels like a drop in the bucket, but all of these are steps that are building towards something bigger. And you can think about the future. In 5 years, do you hope that you have your own book festival in your town? What are you working towards? And take the small steps to get to that place. A few resources I wanted to share with everyone. These are some book resources that I personally love as a parent and a lover of children's books. But I think they have some really useful advice that can be applied across the board. So How to Raise a Reader is just a really fun, easy read with really clear and actionable steps for people to follow to engage kids from age 0 to 18 in books. The Enchanted Hour is all about reading aloud as a family. It's a great book. And then the Children's Book a Day Almanac is super fun. It talks about a lot of holidays, history, events, gives you a lot of ideas to tap into if you want to kind of take a calendar-based approach on celebrating books. And then some online resources. These are just a few organizations that we've worked with or that I know of directly that have some great resources out there. So some of these I hope that you recognize. I wanted to point out specifically Kidlit TV. They create videos with book creators, and they're not all just about book talks. They have a really great show where book creators get in the kitchen and make things. We've done a few videos with them, but they have a huge library of videos, all free to access, all letting you connect with creators from all different genres, formats, age ranges in the children's book world. And then publisher activity kits. Some might not be aware that a lot of publishers create free activity kits around some of their more popular books and characters. So if your kid loves a certain character, search for that, or even look who publishes that book and go to their website and see what kind of free resources you can find. It's always a great way to access some materials about specific books or characters. As I've mentioned, Every Child a Reader has a ton of free resources, so please visit our website and take a look. And I've seen the schedule for this conference, and it is packed full of people who have great ideas and advice and who work for amazing organizations. Many of them will have resources for you, both in the sessions that they're presenting and with their organizations. So even if you can't go to a lot of sessions or you miss something, check out the schedule and explore that person's background and see what you can find. I'm sorry I can't be with you guys in person today to do a question and answer. I'm actually very close to expecting a new little reader, and I didn't want a chance that I wouldn't be able to be there at all, but I'm happy to continue the conversation with anyone who's interested in talking about these ideas, programs, anything. So please contact me at the email address listed on the screen. I want to say thank you again. I'm very honored to be a part of this conference, and I really appreciate your time today.